Welcome to Green Health First's learning sessions. I appreciate you coming back and joining us and learning with us today. Hope you'll find some good pearls. Today we're going to focus on using essential oils in cooking. There's many ways we can use the essential oils and of course many types of things that we make. I'm going to share a little bit about purity. We did a segment on purity of essential oils and especially for internal use a week or so ago, but I'd like to recap some of that. I'm going to talk about some of the tips for using essential oils in your cooking and then also some of my experiences, so I'll share some of those as well. So let's get to it. So when we're looking at essential oils and we want to use them internally, one of the key things to look for is to ensure that your bottle is labeled such that it does say it is for internal use. You will know that when you look at the bottle and it has a supplements facts section. That supplements facts is what FDA requires for any of our food that we would use. And the food essential oils, let's see, the food products that we have on there the supplements facts, what's in it and what is what the daily value is and that sort of thing. So I wanted to just ensure that you look for that. If the bottle does have on it, many brands will have on there for external use and not for internal use. And if it's from an herb, a spice, or fruit, we need to make sure that, then that should be a red flag. When you're looking at some of our herbs, spices, and fruits, it should be a red flag that there's something else in it. It's not 100% plant derived from those plants. And that's why the warning is on there, because there's something in there you shouldn't have. If it's 100% plant derived, we get that essential oil when we eat the fresh plants, when we eat our fruits, spices, and herbs, and we get those, and so we will not get them in the potency that we have in an essential oil, because, for instance, for lemon, the lemon essential oil in a 15 milliliter bottle, it takes 75 lemon peels to get this. So it's more potent, and our rule of thumb for using them anyway, whether it's in a diffuser or topically for aromatherapy or other reasons for pain relief or digestion, or if we take them internally or use them in cooking, the rule of thumb is to use 1 to 3 drops, because they are so much more potent than what our normal serving would be of that food. So when we use essential oils, we always want to use them sparingly and approach them cautiously, but we want to make sure that they are safe in the use that we're going to apply or incorporate. And knowing what you're getting, a dead giveaway again is having that supplements facts on your bottle, on your labeling, and do your homework just so you know you're getting what you think you're getting. I talked about that before. So when we use essential oils in our cooking, or we're using them for internal use, one of the things too that I've discussed before is that we want to make sure, because it is the immune system of the plant and its whole job is to get rid of toxins and impurities and synthetics, we want to make sure we use stainless steel or glass. If you're especially going to store it for a time before you're consuming it. So I have, typically I'll put grapefruit or lemon or orange in my water, and a lot of times I'll put peppermint too. Peppermint's wonderful for just waking up and getting that second wind, but also, your antidepressant properties for your citrus oils help with that as well, and opening up the airways. Know the potency too. Hopefully if you've used them, you know which ones are a little stronger than others. And I will typically use 2 to 3 drops, as I mentioned, of my citrus oils in here. But if I'm using peppermint, because it's so much stronger, I actually put 3 drops in a gallon of water to consume. I don't put 3 drops in 20 ounces. I put 3 drops in a gallon because I really don't like it that strong. So that's one way to think about, when you're using essential oils in your consumption. The ways that I've used them in cooking, like the first time that I started to cook with essential oils, my very first incorporation was when I was making soup, and I was using one of those big oval crock pots, and I was making chicken and rice soup, and I was very, very careful to make sure I put in 1 drop of basil and 1 drop of rosemary. As you know, if you use essential oils, there is a filter on top with an orifice, and it's designed so that when you put it on its side, it will come out a drop at a time. And so I was very, very careful to ensure that I only had 1 drop that came out of each of those. I stirred it in, let it cook for a little bit, and then tasted, and oh my word, it was so strong. I had to actually dilute my soup another quart of water, which was fine because then I had more soup that I could put in the freezer to have for later in the winter. So it worked out, but it is amazing. Learning more, doing more research after that, I found that one of the tips that is given is to use a toothpick down the orifice of the essential oil. You're going to have a couple of them, and then stirring that into whatever you're cooking to get the flavor that you want. So you may have to use 2 or 3 toothpicks to get the flavor you want, because obviously it's a very, very minuscule amount of essential oil that's going to be on that toothpick. I typically now will actually use a spoon, and I'll take that spoon, put it on the top of the oil, turn it upside down, and then upright again, and then stir that amount in. So it's probably about 1/2 drop, maybe a little less than that. Just depends on how thick the essential oil is too. But yeah, so I'll stir that in, then I'll taste it and see how it tastes. I guess one thing that I didn't cover already is why would we want to use essential oils when we're cooking? Well, convenience is one thing. Makes it easy. If you have them already, you don't have to worry about having the dried herbs. But the difference in using essential oil versus a dried herb is that you're getting all the good antioxidants and natural ingredients in their form that God put them in that plant. So you're getting them in the freshest form possible. And those antioxidants really aren't very potent in the dried herb. You have to use, in fact, the rule of thumb that we have, and actually guideline that we have, it's not really a rule of thumb, is that 1 drop of an essential oil is the same as about 2 teaspoons of the dried herb, spice, or fruit. If you were to use lemon or orange, typically you're going to be the equivalent that you would use in the fresh fruit is the rind, because that's where the essential oil is. So you would be zesting that into your foods. So it'd be a good, probably more than 2 teaspoons of the zest to be equivalent to 1 drop of the essential oil. Remember, I said take 75 lemon peels to make what we have, as far as what we offer in our essential oils, to make a 15 milliliter bottle of lemon. And usually 15 milliliters, that's equivalent to about 240 drops. Depends on, again, how thick the essential oil is. So the guide is 1 drop. 1 drop is about the same as 2 teaspoons of your dried herb or spice. So we have to be careful too. Of course, the other reasons that we want to use essential oils, it adds great flavor. You get more potency in that flavor, more robustness, and you get those natural ingredients. And as I mentioned, the convenience of it all. I love using the essential oils because of the therapeutic properties they bring, but the flavor and the aroma certainly are a driving force as well for my use every day. And we do use them. We can use them in many different ways. I had mentioned using in my water. A lot of people will use them in smoothies or shakes or in their tea. One popular English tea that we have, Earl Grey, actually has bergamot in it. And bergamot's wonderful to add because of not only the antidepressant properties it brings, like all citrus oils do. So when you're drinking that and breathing it, you're getting that wonderful anxiety and stress relief. Chamomile brings to the table too, but lavender. But you also are getting those good antioxidants when you use the essential oil that you may not be getting, again, from the dried product, the dried tea leaves and what have you. You can also put them in smoothies or shakes. A lot of times we'll make smoothies or shakes for having all in one. A place where we can put vegetables and fruits that we know that we will have, make as a food, or excuse me, as a meal, because it brings so much antioxidant, so much nutrition in one, product that we can consume. And a lot of times when we make our smoothies, we are adding things to it that we may not have every day, that we may not want to eat as a regular food, like kale or spinach or some other vegetables that we don't normally have, celery seed or what have you. And so that helps us be able to get that in there, and then some of our other fruits that we may put in there have a stronger flavor and mask the taste of those things. So we can do the same thing using, an herb in there. Again, I'd be very careful depending on how you make your smoothies. If you put yogurt in, it's going to be similar as a thick a type of agent that it will help keep the flavoring from being so strong. But if you don't, then you want to be very careful and use like a toothpick or the spoon method. I tried making spaghetti with my basil and rosemary and oregano, and I didn't have the same experience that I did with my soup. That's a clear broth. Spaghetti is a thick, sauce, and so I put I started with my spoon, and then I was like, I can't even taste it, and I went to a drop. It still wasn't very strong, so I added 2 drops in, and that I actually was able to taste. Now, I added 2 drops of my basil and my rosemary, and only 1 of the oregano, because oregano is just very, very strong. But of course, it did take me some trial and error with a couple of batches over time to really get where I want to be with, what I add into my spaghetti sauce. But and that's what we always recommend. Now, we do have a blog through our company that gives great recipes for using essential oils in your cooking, and it's a wonderful way to to be able to experience yourself. There are some guidelines that we have for using what you would use in certain types of foods, and typically we would put our citrus in our beverages, our baked goods, maybe yogurt, dips, salsa, or even you can add them to your zest, if you even, if you're not getting enough flavor with your zest. Your spices you would use with vegetables, meats. You can do it as a marinade, using your oils to marinate meat, or even vegetables. And then for sweet and savory dishes, your herbs, you definitely want to use them in Italian dishes like the spaghetti, as I mentioned, and meat marinade, soups, breads, potatoes, pasta, and again, substitute them for the dried herbs like I mentioned. The florals, a lot of times people will use in desserts, but also in the teas, again, like chamomile or lavender. And you can also use them in your baked goods. I know there's a lot of baked goods out there now that have lavender in them. And also, to soften, the florals will help soften the strongness of the citrus oils too. So I do love using the oils in baking. We do have to be careful about the temperature, and because the temperature can cause the chemicals to break down, and of course it also makes it dissipate more. They're volatile organic compounds, so as you're cooking, it's going to actually come out into the air, and that's why you have to use a little bit more in certain types of cooking. And it's recommended too that we put it at the end of our cooking cycle if we can. So, for the soup, for the spaghetti sauce, I like to use my essential oils when I use my vegetable steamer. But what I'll do is I'll steam my veggies, let it cool for just a little bit so that heating unit cools down, and then I'll put 1 drop of basil or rosemary or lemongrass. We use lemongrass in a lot of our Asian foods, and I just love the taste of it. And I'll put 1 drop in that water and let it just infuse up for another 5 minutes or so. And oh boy, does the vegetables taste so good. And it's a wonderful way to still get the good antioxidants and not lose all the flavor by putting it at the end of your heating cycle. Now, when we are baking, we don't have that that choice. We can't go in when it's halfway baked and add an essential oil in, so we have to put it in the batter. So we do need to use a little bit more so that we have that stronger flavor. One of my experiences was making brownies, and I wanted to make mint brownies, so I added peppermint to it. And the first batch that I made, I actually put just 1 drop of peppermint in it, and they were delicious. It was just very lightly minty, but we wanted a stronger minty flavor, so the next batch we made, we put 2 drops in, and it was just delicious. And so that is something that is recommended if you're baking, to use a little bit more of that essential oil so that you do get a stronger flavor of what you're trying, your intended result is. And then another way that I use them, and I've finally found a good even recipe for pumpkin cookies. We love pumpkin cookies in my family, and we start making them from Thanksgiving all the way through Christmas, and a lot of times they're gifts for friends. And I was trying to figure out, well, how can I cut back on my dried spices, my cinnamon, my ginger, clove, orange. I like to put all those in there and use the essential oil. So it took me several batches to figure that out, but I do know, kind of how much I want to use each time and not have to use so much of the dried spice. I still like using the dried spice. Of course, some of the essential oils, some of the spices we don't have essential oils for yet that I would be able to use. So I still use some dried. But that, it's just trial and error. And again, our blog, we can give you those, or point you to, we can give you those recipes. So I hope that this has given you some good pearls for wanting to try to use your essential oils in your cooking. And especially if they are safe and for eternal use. They have that supplements fact on there. And I'm hoping that you have learned a little bit more about your comfort level with using them and why you'd want to, especially for the therapeutic properties. When we're looking at any of our essential oils, there's so many therapeutic properties, as you can see here. I can't get it right, on the bottom of this, that like basil will bring to the table, and cinnamon, and all of them have just a huge diverse array of therapeutic properties they can help with. And once the body is introduced to something that's natural, it recognizes it and will, like within 4 seconds, know what to do, how to use it to help you get your body in balance. So I look forward to sharing with you again next time, and I hope that we will be able to meet up soon. I do offer a 40% off coupon for the Zyto biofeedback reading, and this is a great way for you to learn what your body says it needs to get into balance, and to actually experience the oils that are called out when it identifies where you're out of balance and what can bring you in, and help you start on, choose those things deliberately to start on your path to wellness. We can do that in 20 minutes. You get a report and we can get you started. I definitely call you to take those steps today to help your body and your environment get into the optimal health scenario so you can thrive. I look forward to sharing with you again next time. Until then, be well.